Friends, welcome to another episode of Auto Afflicted. I'm your host, Ali Goulet, and today we're talking snow tires. How do they work? Why are they superior to all-season tires? And do you need them? I'm going to give you my opinion on best options, affordable alternatives for your car, truck, or SUV, and we're going to get into all that right now. Now, I can say hands down from experience, there's nothing like a true winter tire. If you are in the mountains a lot and you're on snow-packed roads on a regular basis, definitely a winter tire. If you're just not very comfortable in inclement weather and snowy, icy conditions, the winter tire is going to give you that confidence. And let's talk about why. Essentially, all snow tires use the same concept of tread design and rubber compound mixed with sipes or studs to achieve better traction in winter conditions. When it comes to the snow tire, most manufacturers are going to use a softer compound of rubber. This is going to allow the tire to stay more pliable in winter conditions and conform to the road better for better traction versus the harder rubber, which during cold conditions, of course, is going to become even harder and so less pliable on the road. Additionally, you'll see on like this Bridgestone, for instance, really deep tracks and a pretty deep tread. The deep tread allows the tire to get further bite into the snow, and the big open channels allow the tire to shed the snow and the slush, because you don't actually want snow packing up in your tire. Snow on snow is not good. You want your tire to be shedding the snow and offering fresh new tread to the ground for grip. And so that's where a Blizzak or another winter specific tire comes into play. So if you compare that to, say, this Continental, for instance, here. So this is one of my favorite Continentals. We have these on our Mercedes sedan. We don't do the winter tires on our Mercedes because we live in Salt Lake City, where we get some snow on the roads during the winter, but it generally melts off pretty quickly. So we're not having to deal with snow-packed roads, just snowy roads once in a while. But with this tread, I would not take this thing up into a snowy canyon road to go skiing, for instance. So when you're looking at this, you can see it does have pretty wide grooves, which are nice for shedding the water and for shedding snow and ice. And it does have some decent siping, but when you compare the blocks, you can see the blocks are shallower and they're much thicker, because this is meant to sort of bridge the gap between having good contact, so needing big blocks to contact on the concrete for summer driving, and then also having good siping and channels for clearing water and some snow if you come across it. So as you can see, that's just the treads aren't nearly as flexible. There's not nearly as many sipes and not nearly as deep. It's purely about the traction. So this is where the snow tire comes in for the big win in the inclement conditions. Is it's just going to shed so much more snow, and you're going to have better braking. You're going to have better ability to accelerate and to turn. That's where the mud and snow tires and the all seasons start to fail you. With an all-wheel drive car, you can generally get going with any kind of tire, but when it comes time to stop or turn, that's when the tire is really going to show you its nature, and you're going to end up in the ditch. So comparing the snow tire now, let's compare it to, say, your big SUV tire, such as this common BF Goodrich KO2. So, if you look at the BF Goodrich, it has big blocks. This is good for rocky conditions. It has big channels also, so it can get traction. but big durable blocks. And you can just imagine when these are sitting on top of snow, it's just going to slide around because it's just a big smooth surface with not much siping to get extra traction. So, you know, these big off-road tires are doing no one a favor. In fact, if you look at like Rally, they go with a very narrow, tall snow tire because it does dig into the snow that much better. All right, so now let's compare another snow tire to the Blizzak. I've got a set of Sumitomos here. So Sumitomo, this is a studded snow tire. So, you know, taking a look at it, the tread is decent. There's a decent amount of siping in it, but you can also see that it does have pretty big blocks, and it doesn't have nearly the amount of siping. And then when you go to compare the tread, you can just feel that the tread of the Blizzak is so much softer, and so it's going to get so much more grip. But this Sumitomo is going to do hands down way better than your BF Goodrich or say your Continental mud and snow tire. Now you have to consider the need, right? Do you really need snow tires? And so this is where, for me, you know, in my opinion, it depends on you know, level of comfort and confidence, and then also what are you going to be doing, right? So as I mentioned, we have the Continental, what these are, Continental Pro Contact all-season tires. We have these on, have them on both of my Mercedes. One Mercedes has 4MATIC, so all-wheel drive, and one does not. And these tires do great all year round. If we see a little bit of snow, it's not really a problem. You know, we are not driving those Mercedes up into the mountains on snowy, packed roads every day. And we, you know, monitor our speed and all of that. When the conditions change, you know, we reduce our speed to what's reasonable for our tires. So, you know, if you live in an area like that where you see snow just a little bit, you can probably get away with an all-season tire. Now, if you are going into the mountains all the time, and, you know, like for instance, when I go snowboarding, I want to know that I'm going to go on the best day, and the best day is probably going to have snow-packed roads because there's going to be fresh snow. And so that's where I want to have the Blizzak, because the Blizzak is going to get me there basically no matter what happens. If the road's open, I'm getting there. That's how great this tire is. I would not trust you know, a BF Goodrich or any other mud and snow to that same thing. But you can get away with a lot with an all-wheel drive car if you're, you know, adjusting your speed to the conditions and the tires. With that said, you know, the Blizzak, which is such a great tire, or any other comparable tire, does have a very soft compound. And so if you're spending a lot of time on dry roads, commuting to the resorts, you could eat these tires up. You know, probably not in a season, but you might only get a couple seasons out of them. And you certainly wouldn't want to run them year round because they would just wear so fast because they are that soft. And so when you go to this full-on snow tire, you do compromise a little bit on overall tread, and you know, you do have to start going to a two tire setup for your car, which, you know, if you've got two sets of wheels, it can be simple. But if you're having to swap your tires back and forth every 6 or so months, that can be a pain. Now, you know, let's go to some of my favorite picks, right? So I have actually had a lot of experience over the many years, spent a lot of time in mountain towns chasing snow and driving studded snow tires. I've been on Hakkapeliitas, Yokohamas, Sumitomos, Blizzaks, Coopers, and kind of everything in between. You know, in the SUVs, we've done the BF Goodrich and some Yokohama Geolanders. And on sedans, I really like the Continentals. But so, you know, my picks, if you're kind of on in-between conditions and you have an SUV, I want to say that I've been super happy with the Yokohama Geolander AT tire. We had that on Pepper Porsche, and it did great in the dry, and it also did really well in the snow. If you look at this tread pattern, you can see it has some pretty good siping and decent blocking. And so while this is a mud and snow tire, I was really impressed with how it handled in the snow. And you know, you can see from these clips, it was definitely holding its own. Now, when it comes to affordable sedan tires, there was a great tire out. Here's a picture of it. It's called the Cooper Weather Master ST. They have a WC version, which is a more expensive winter tire, but the ST, if you can still find it, these are like sub $200 tires. They are, you know, geared towards snow, but they have a little bit harder tread, so they wear pretty long, which is nice. And then they do great in the snow. I've actually used these Cooper tires on my Mazda at the Bridgestone Winter Driving School, and I drove there on the snow and ice with Bridgestone tires, and I've driven with the Cooper tires. I'd say the Coopers didn't compare to the Bridgestones as far as pure braking on the ice, but you know, they were right there. I didn't feel like I was missing anything really, and for the price, you know, you got to feel like you're winning a little bit in that regard. So the Cooper Weathermaster ST could be a good option for you if you're looking for something affordable. You know, so those are basically my picks. You know, if you want a little bit more low profile tire, like I was saying, the Continental Pro Contact is great if you don't see snow that often. You know, if you're performance driving primarily, canyon driving, or you have a, you know, a sportier sedan that sees snow infrequently and rain, you know, wetness, then that Pro Contact is going to be a great tire. But hands down, for confidence in the winter and to know that you're going to get where you're going regardless of the conditions, as long as the road's open, full-on winter studless tire like a Blizzak is just impossible to beat and a worthwhile investment, and I highly recommend it. You know, so interestingly enough, I had put this short video up on the YouTube earlier this winter where I was following an SUV and the tires were just totally caked with snow, and my comment was kind of, you know, these are great snow tires if you like your tires covered in snow. And I should have called the title of the video, "How do snow tires work? Wrong answers only," because everyone that commented on the video was saying only wrong things. There's a link to it actually in the description, but it was pretty funny. You know, people saying that you want the snow to pack onto your tires because that gives you better traction, you know, snow to snow, and just, you know, strange things like that. And certainly I could have been misguided in the short, and the snow could have been collecting on the tires because of the low speed, but nonetheless, the comments are hilarious. And so, you know, hopefully those people will drop by and learn a little bit about these snow tires. So there you go, friends. There's sort of my 2 cents on the whole thing. Now you know a bit about snow tires, how they compare to the other tires in your neighborhood. And, you know, if you got any questions, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer your questions. And otherwise, you know the deal, friends. Be kind to those around you. Use your signals when you're driving. Monitor your speeds and maybe slow down when the conditions change. And otherwise, just be well, and we'll catch you on the next one.